Zambia denies Israel military base claims. South Africa attack allegations exposed. A shocking allegation has surfaced suggesting Israel may use Zambia as a base for attacks on South Africa. But is there any truth to it? And why has this claim caused panic among citizens and politicians alike? Tonight, we dive deep into the controversy, uncover UPND's official response, and explore what this means for Zambia's diplomatic and security standing. Stay with us, because the full story is far more complex than the headlines suggest. Good day, viewers. Welcome to another edition of InspirAfrica Official. I'm Nakash. We've had quite an eventful week here in Southern Africa, and today we're diving into a story that has set diplomatic circles ablaze across the continent. Imagine this, a historic handshake. Two presidents smiling for the cameras. The first Israeli head of state ever to set foot on Zambian soil. Israeli President Isaac Herzog steps off the plane in Lusaka, November 10, 2024. The welcome is warm. The agreements are signed. Medical partnerships. Agricultural cooperation. Technology transfer. But then, within hours of Herzog's departure, the whispers begin. Dark allegations. Conspiracy theories spreading like wildfire across social media. Israel is using Zambia as a military staging ground. They say Zambia has betrayed Africa. They claim South Africa is the target. Is this the beginning of a new regional conflict? Has Zambia, the nation that once hosted the African liberation movements, truly turned its back on its continental brothers? Could Southern Africa be sliding toward a proxy war that nobody saw coming? Or, is something else happening here? Is this a carefully orchestrated disinformation campaign designed to divide and conquer? Who benefits when friendly nations turn against each other? And what really happened after Isaac Herzog's plane left Zambian airspace? The allegations are explosive. The denials are categorical. The timing is suspicious. And somewhere between the truth and the propaganda lies a story that could reshape the future of Southern African diplomacy. What is Zambia hiding? Or, what is being hidden from Zambia? Factual foundation, background and timeline. The revelation came to light in the immediate aftermath of what should have been a routine diplomatic triumph. On November 10 and 11, 2024, Israeli President Isaac Herzog made history by becoming the first Israeli president to ever visit Zambia. This wasn't a casual drop-in. This was a carefully planned state visit, the culmination of years of warming relations between Lusaka and Tel Aviv. Let's establish the timeline. June 2023, Zambian President Hakainde Hichilema travels to Israel. He's no stranger to the country. Hichilema was once a beneficiary of an Israeli scholarship program. The trip focuses on economic cooperation, agricultural technology, and water management. August 2024, Israel reopens its embassy in Lusaka after a 52-year absence. Foreign Minister Gideon Sayar calls Zambia a strategic partner in the region. The embassy closure dated back to 1973, during the era when African nations largely cut ties with Israel over its policies toward Palestinians. November 10 to 11, 2024, Herzog arrives in Zambia. The agenda is packed: bilateral talks with President Hichilema, discussions on agriculture, health, education, technology, trade, and investment. The visit includes an emotional highlight: a meeting with Zambian children whose lives were saved by Israeli cardiac surgeons through the Save a Child's Heart program. Herzog speaks about peace in the Middle East. He thanks Zambia for its deep friendship and solidarity with the people of Israel. The two leaders sign agreements. They pose for photographs. Everything appears cordial. But within 24 to 48 hours after Herzog's departure, social media erupts. The allegations surface first on platforms frequented by South African political activists. Then they spread. Israel plans to use Zambia as a base for launching attacks on South Africa. The claims are inflammatory. They reference South Africa's genocide case against Israel at the International Court of Justice. They invoke memories of apartheid South Africa's military raids on neighboring countries in the 1970s and 80s. By late November 2024, the Zambian government could no longer remain silent. Direct evidence, quotes and testimony. The official response came swiftly and decisively from the ruling United Party for National Development. UPND Deputy Media Director Sekwindi Situla stepped forward with a statement that left no room for ambiguity. His words were carefully chosen, his tone firm. Zambia will never allow its sovereign territory to be used as a platform for aggression against any country because it is firmly committed to peace, regional stability, and the principles of non-alignment and mutual respect in international relations. But Situla didn't stop there. He went further, characterizing the nature of these allegations. The UPND official described the claims as false, dangerous, and irresponsible, stating they were remarks intended to create divisions among friendly nations. The statement continued with an assertion of Zambia's diplomatic philosophy. Situla emphasized that Zambia values its long-standing ties with both Israel and South Africa and will not permit attempts to entangle the nation in fabricated conflicts or smear campaigns. There was a warning embedded in the statement as well. Situla noted that such insinuations undermine Zambia's sovereignty and contradict the country's foreign policy, which reflects its reputation as a peace-loving nation dedicated to fostering unity and cooperation across Africa and beyond. And finally, a call to vigilance. The UPND official urged citizens to remain alert and reject propaganda, warning that misinformation of such kind threatens national unity, erodes public trust, and distracts from efforts to build a stronger Zambia. Now, it's worth noting what Herzog himself said during his Zambia visit, words that seem to contradict any aggressive military agenda. Meeting with President Hichilema, Herzog stated clearly, "We want peace. We seek peace. There is nothing we want more than peace with our Palestinian neighbors." He spoke of Israel's commitment to addressing humanitarian crises, saying the nation seeks to alleviate the man-made and natural humanitarian crises in Africa. These aren't the words of a leader establishing military bases for regional aggression. But then again, critics would argue, what else would he say publicly? From Israel's perspective, this visit was about legitimate diplomatic and economic engagement. Ambassador to Zambia Offer Farhi described Herzog's visit as historic, noting that Zambians know what is good for their country and that their foreign policy is smart and stable, including good relations with all nations. But what about the other side? What do the critics say? Joseph Musonda, a member of the Central Committee of the Socialist Party Zambia and a pro-Palestine activist, offered a starkly different perspective. Speaking to Al Mayadeen English about Zambia's warming relations with Israel, Musonda argued that by embracing Israel at this moment, Zambia is guilty of moral complicity in the ongoing genocide in Gaza. He called it a betrayal of the African liberation heritage. Musonda reminded people of Zambia's history. It was in Zambia that African leaders met in 1969 to emerge with the Lusaka Manifesto, which sought to end minority rule in apartheid South Africa, Rhodesia, now Zimbabwe, Mozambique, Angola, and Namibia. His criticism was pointed. Musonda stated that to now embrace Israel, which is nothing but a settler colonial apartheid regime, is an act of spitting on the graves of our martyrs and dishonoring the very principles of Pan-Africanism. So we have two narratives. The Zambian government insists this is about economic development and humanitarian cooperation. Critics argue it's a moral betrayal and potentially something more sinister. But where's the evidence of military bases? Of attack plans against South Africa? That's where this story gets interesting. Deeper analysis, implications and reactions. Let's step back and examine the broader context, because this story doesn't exist in a vacuum. First, we need to understand the geopolitical landscape of Southern Africa right now. South Africa has positioned itself as Israel's fiercest critic on the continent. In December 2023, South Africa filed a genocide case against Israel at the International Court of Justice over the war in Gaza. The case continues, with multiple countries joining South Africa's position. This has created a diplomatic schism. On one side, South Africa, backed by various progressive movements and Pan-African voices. On the other, countries like Zambia, which have chosen to maintain or strengthen ties with Israel despite international pressure. Now, here's something crucial that adds historical weight to these allegations. Apartheid South Africa actually did conduct cross-border military operations from the 1970s through the 1980s. They bombed refugee camps in Zambia, raided Angola, attacked Mozambique, Zimbabwe, Botswana, and Namibia. These weren't conspiracy theories, they were documented facts. One survivor, Ganda Perez, remembers vividly the day apartheid South Africa bombed a refugee camp in Lusaka in the mid-1980s. She was working as a dentist at a local hospital. The victims arrived on trucks serving as makeshift ambulances. The wounds were horrific. So when critics draw parallels between contemporary Israel's regional military operations and apartheid South Africa's behavior, they're not pulling comparisons out of thin air. Security analyst Sonia Theron from the University of Pretoria notes that similar to Israel's recent actions, South Africa's military action abroad relied on targeted attacks against ANC leadership and safehouses, as well as other activists, and that the disregard for international law, particularly sovereignty, is also similar. But, and this is critical, similarities don't equal proof. There's another angle to consider. This isn't the first time Zambia has faced allegations of hosting foreign military bases. Remember June 2024? Zimbabwean President Emmerson Mnangagwa accused the United States of militarizing Zambia, claiming Washington was setting up an AFRICOM base to isolate Zimbabwe. The response then was remarkably similar to now. General Michael Langley, head of U.S. Africa Command, categorically denied the claims. He stated, "That's absolutely false. We have no bases in Zambia. We have no plans to put one there." He clarified, "We have increased security cooperation with them, but there is no footprint, there is no posture, there is no base." Zambian President Hichilema also denied his country was being militarized, explaining that Zambia's army has exchange programs with numerous countries, which shouldn't be mistaken for military occupation. Do you see the pattern? Zambia appears to be repeatedly accused of hosting foreign military installations, first American, now Israeli. With both allegations surfacing from countries that have contentious relationships with those foreign powers. Zimbabwe has tensions with the United States. South Africa has filed a genocide case against Israel. This raises uncomfortable questions. Are these allegations based on actual intelligence? Or are they strategic narratives designed to pressure Zambia into aligning with certain political positions? Legal and diplomatic experts point out several factors that make the current allegations problematic. No evidence presented. The claims about Israeli military bases have not been accompanied by satellite imagery, intelligence leaks, or whistleblower testimony. In the age of commercial satellite imagery and ubiquitous smartphones, establishing a military base is extremely difficult to hide. Economic logic doesn't support it. Zambia is facing significant economic pressure due to rising foreign debt. The country has been negotiating debt restructuring with international creditors. What Zambia needs is investment, technology transfer, and economic partnerships, not military entanglements that would jeopardize its relationships with major African economies like South Africa. Diplomatic costs would be prohibitive. Zambia is a member of the African Union and the Southern African Development Community, SADC. Allowing its territory to be used for military operations against a fellow African nation would violate numerous regional agreements and destroy Zambia's carefully cultivated reputation as a neutral, peace-loving nation. Israel's own denials. When similar allegations emerged about U.S. bases in various African countries, Israel has historically been transparent about its actual military footprint. Israel doesn't have forward-deployed military bases in Africa. Its engagement on the continent focuses on security training, intelligence sharing, and military equipment sales, but not permanent installations. That said, critics raise valid concerns about the type of cooperation that might be occurring. Israel is known for training African security forces, providing surveillance technology, selling weapons systems, offering intelligence cooperation. Could some of this be happening in Zambia? Possibly. Is this the same as establishing a military base for attacking South Africa? Absolutely not. There's also a propaganda dimension to consider. In an era of information warfare, allegations don't need to be true to be effective. They just need to be plausible enough to create doubt, division, and distrust. South Africa and Zambia have generally good relations, but they're not without tension. South Africa's dominant economy in the region sometimes creates resentment. Zambia's independent foreign policy decisions, like strengthening ties with Israel, can be perceived as provocative by Pretoria. If someone wanted to drive a wedge between Zambia and South Africa, what better way than to spread rumors that Zambia is hosting military facilities aimed at attacking its southern neighbor? Finally, there's the question of what Zambia actually is getting from Israel. The answer appears to be legitimate development assistance. Israeli NGO Save a Child's Heart has treated 136 Zambian children with congenital heart conditions, with 29 treated in 2024 alone. Israeli doctors have trained Zambian cardiac specialists, including Dr. Musa Kalembi Lwara, the country's first pediatric cardiac intensive care specialist. Agricultural technology transfer for a country facing food security challenges. Water management expertise in a region increasingly affected by droughts. Educational scholarships and exchange programs. These are tangible benefits. They're documented. They're visible. Military bases for attacking South Africa? Not so much. The broader implications extend beyond just Zambia and South Africa. This controversy reflects a continent-wide debate about Israel's role in Africa. Some African leaders see Israel as a valuable partner for development and security. Others view any engagement with Israel as a betrayal of solidarity with Palestinians. Both sides claim the moral high ground. Both sides accuse the other of being naive or complicit. And in the middle sits Zambia, insisting it can maintain good relations with everyone while pursuing its national interests. So where does this leave us? The Zambian government has issued categorical denials. The allegations remain unsubstantiated. And yet, the controversy continues to simmer beneath the surface of southern African diplomacy. Is Zambia hosting Israeli military bases intended for attacks on South Africa? Based on available evidence, or rather, the complete lack of evidence, the answer appears to be no. These claims seem to be either unfounded conspiracy theories or deliberate disinformation. But the underlying tensions are real. The debate over Israel's role in Africa is real. The historical trauma of apartheid-era cross-border raids is real. And the competition for influence in southern Africa is very, very real. What's clear is that Zambia finds itself navigating an increasingly complex diplomatic landscape. It wants Israeli investment and technology. It values its relationship with South Africa. It needs economic growth and debt relief. And it must balance all of this while maintaining its sovereignty and independence. As for those making the allegations, they've succeeded in one thing: keeping the controversy alive, keeping pressure on Zambia, and keeping the question of Israel's activities in Africa in the public conversation. The truth, as often happens, is probably less dramatic than either the allegations or the denials suggest. No secret military bases. No imminent attacks. But yes, security cooperation. Yes, intelligence sharing. Yes, arms sales. The kind of relationships many countries maintain, wrapped in the usual diplomatic language and official denials. Thank you for watching, viewers. This is the kind of story that develops over time, and we'll continue following it as new information emerges. What do you think? Are these allegations credible? Is Zambia being unfairly targeted? Or is there more to this story than meets the eye? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let's have a respectful discussion about these serious diplomatic matters affecting our continent. We'll be back tomorrow with more news and analysis from across Africa. Until then, stay informed, stay critical, and stay united. This has been Nakash for InspirAfrica Official. Good day.